we're going to record this. Okay, so hi, thanks for being here on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Hopefully it'll still be nice at 4 o'clock. And we're here to talk about the 1E, 2E culminating project for the Seal of Biliteracy. And so all of you, hopefully your schools have signed on to offer the Seal of Biliteracy to your graduating seniors. And we're focusing a lot of energy on this 1E, 2E project because most of the students need this 2E project in order to achieve the seal. The objectives are two. By the end, you should be able to articulate what is the State Seal of Biliteracy Culminating Project. You'll see it referred to as the Capstone Biliteracy Project. That's one example of what the culminating project can be. So we use that term kind of interchangeably. And then number two, that you can articulate the parts of the 1E, 2E culminating project and make connections to the existing work you already do in your world language course. Perhaps it's a Checkpoint C course, maybe it's a pre-AP course or a home language arts course. Or if you're not teaching one of those courses, you can determine ways to implement the project in your school setting. So we're going to start. And it said I'm recording, right? Okay, cool. Okay, so what is the New York State Seal of Biliteracy Capstone Project? So let's activate prior knowledge. If you're familiar with the revised Capstone project, you're going to do a clap. Thumbs up if you knew how to implement it last year, but you're not yet familiar with the changes. Basic understanding, not sure exactly, and you know nothing about it, which is totally fine. So do we know how to use our reactions on Zoom? So if everyone could put the reaction on now, that would be awesome. Okay, Diana knows from last year. Okay, yeah, Matt, clapping. Okay, cool. Hi, Katie. We have some district points here. Awesome. Oh, hi, Teresa. Okay, cool. And what is it? Marisol, I can't remember which slides you were going to take. Stop me if you'd like to take over.
This is exactly where I start. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Do you want to share your screen?
You can share. Anything is fine.
Okay, go ahead.
So what is the capstone? Jill, I'm super sorry. This is your turn, so please go ahead.
Sure. So the Seal of Biliteracy, big idea, I'm sure most of you know, it's a graduation endorsement and a way to celebrate our multilingual learners, right? Students who have become proficient in listening, reading, speaking, and writing in a language they have studied in their school, or a language they speak at home and are heritage or native speakers. We're very proud in New York State that we have a variety of pathways to get to the seal. And we're very proud in New York City that we have the largest number of students achieving the seal is our former or ever Ls, right? And the rest of the state, it's those never Ls who are just studying foreign language, quote unquote. We don't really say the F word anymore. And so we're really proud. In addition, in New York City, we've been working very closely with CUNY central office to get students to get college credit for the seal. So quite a few CUNY campuses have established their policies. And so we're waiting to hear from some other ones, but it's really exciting. And we'll be publishing a list of every CUNY campus and if they've determined their policy for credit. This is not a session on the Seal of Biliteracy though, so I'm going through these really fast. So we can zoom in on this. Why the Capstone Project, and we're spending a lot of energy on it, is because it is a 2-point criterion. And remember that students, to show biliteracy, they need to have 3 points on the English side and 3 points on the world language side. Many of your students might not need to do the 1E project in English. This is a project that can be done in an ELA course and a global course, in US history, and any kind of class in ENL. but they may not need this if they get sufficient points for maybe 1A, 1B, and 1C. On the world language side, about 90% of students to achieve the seal get it by completing the culminating project in a world language. And then for that third point, maybe they take a 2D assessment, or they are in a checkpoint C or home language arts course with an 85 average. But we're spending a lot of time. The focus of today is on this 2E project and what it could look like and how it can be part of what you already do in your school. And so we're zooming in on that bottom row, right? And again, those 2 out of 3 points. Okay, Marisol, is this you?
Yes, this is my time. So let us see what is the culminating project. Can you hear me well? Yeah, so much noise here. Okay, so the culminating projects assess proficiency in listening, speaking, reading, and writing, as you know, and has 3 parts this year. Number 1, by the way, before the first part, the good thing is that you can embed this within the language and home language arts courses that you have. It's not something that you need to do separately. The first is part A, personal essay, connection to a chosen theme that corresponds to presentational writing. Part B, research annotate bibliography, that, as you know, is interpretive reading, presentational writing. And finally, this wonderful part that is so much fun, presentation and oral defense, in which they show the synthesis of the research. Okay, so we are going to walk you through each one of these parts, and I will walk you through the personal essay first, and then Jill will continue after that.
And just from here, if you did this last year, what do you notice?
That there are only 3 parts instead of 4?
Ding, ding, ding.
Yay, and I need to send that, and I need to send, thank you, Jill, this is amazing. I need to send all this because it's really, this will really make things much feasible, you know, easy to do it in the schools.
The big idea is we need to just be able to assess all 4 modes, right? And well, 3 modes, right? Presentational writing, we're already getting that from part A. There was no need for a second essay. And the synthesis of the research is coming in part B. Okay, so
great, thank you. So let us start with part A. So you will have this, you have received this, write the capstone biliteracy project, all the guidance. We are going to walk you through the project. And you will also receive, like, you know, this new facing document that Jill will walk you through later. But let us go to the first part. So let's go to the first part. So the personal essay, what is it? It's a polished personal writing piece on a topic of interest to you. Part A serves as a foundation for the following components. Suggest completion in fall before January. And there's samples and we will show them to you and you will have time during this meeting to see them. So don't worry. So the personal essay in English and in word language is a culminating project or portfolio that can be fulfilled by tasks your students are already completing in your class. And that's why we'll have a time to discuss that with you in which classes you have and how can we do that. And students could start anytime. What does that mean? That obviously this year we're giving the seal is given to seniors. But if you have an 11th grade class and they can do it this year and save the points for 12th grade, that is perfect. You don't need to wait the 12th grade to do this project, okay? There's a student choice in, thank you, student choice in the sub-teams. And I'm going to look. Okay, there you go. And we are going to walk you through those, okay? In the PowerPoint it will appear. Jill, you don't mind? Okay, you will have this, the access to this. And I will show it to them to you almost immediately. So let us go to the next one. So the word language, these themes and sub-themes are based in the AP word language and culture, okay? Themes and sub-themes. And as you may know, many of you, we have 6 required themes: families and communities, personal public identities, beauty and aesthetics, science and technology, contemporary life, and global challenges. Each one of those themes has, in the next slide, we will see that they have also 7 recommended contexts that are like sub-themes, okay? And if you go to the next slide, you will see that they're very specific. We made this for you so you can really see. You have Chinese, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Spanish. If you have a different language, you can use any one of them. It's not that you need to use exactly, if you're Italian, only the Italian ones, but you have access and you will have access. So your students or you or together, you can select which are the themes that you're going to select. So we have very specific options for you to find a theme, okay? If we go to the next slide, so you have, this is for unit 1, then the next slide. Yes, Jill, sorry.
Yeah, and basically, right, so these are structures that align to ideas you're already teaching and themes you're already teaching. But basically, any interest that a student, any topic of interest is probably in one of these sub-themes, but we don't want it to be limited to this. If they want something that's not necessarily in here, it's supposed to be of interest to them. Thanks.
Totally, thank you. So you have unit 2, 3, 4, and the next 5 and 6. And this is just a guide that really can help the students kind of find a topic, sub-themes, okay? If we go to the next slide. So, and just can leave it 1 second there. So this is a suggestion, again, depends on you, depends when it's convenient for you, for your classes, your students, but one suggestion, if to make things easier for everyone, is that we are already, like, if you are teaching an AP class, you should be like in units 2. This is part of the course and exam description of the College Board. So you should have been covered the first 2 units. You should be in the 3rd one. So a recommendation, if it makes it easy for you, and if you do the click of the animation, please still, is that you concentrate in unit 1 and unit 2 for 2 reasons. Why? Because you probably should have, or say you should have covered it, and because there are topics that are easy to relate for the students, right? Customs and value, family structure, they're very close to them. So they will probably would like to use those. Again, this is not mandatory, it's just a suggestion, but your students can also select other topics that may not be in unit 1 and 2 that they find more interesting. Okay, so that in regards to the first part, and Jill is going to walk us through the next part B. And
so part B, so part A was a personal essay, their personal connection to a topic, what they're interested, their own background, things like that. Part B is an annotated bibliography, which necessitates that they are doing research in the target language. So and this is an assessment of interpretive reading, right? We need to make sure they understand what they read. And actual intermediate high expectations are that they're reading at least paragraph length sources, maybe a page, and they need to show understanding that they can interpret it and analyze the research sources. And this will give them information related to the theme that they chose, so that they can have their Part C presentation. The suggested completion, again, we're having the session now, it's right before break. We do encourage you to think about if you'll assign Part A over break or for that first week in January. You're not going to be behind if you're starting these projects in January or for the 2nd semester. So glad you're here now, right? So after they write Part A, they can start their research. And I will say that this is an opportunity to really talk to your ELA colleagues, your global colleagues, your US history colleagues. I talked to the Office of Library Services. I know research skills are being taught in different ways in different schools. The big idea here is that research is in the target language. So if they are doing the project in Spanish, they should be using Google.co.mx, something like that. There are resources for doing research in the target language, and they should be, so they would use search engines and they would use keywords, right? Desafíos mundiales, right? They're not going to search for global challenges Spanish. They're going to search in the target language, for example. And 3 to 5 sources, and then an annotated bibliography means they understand the main message and details of this. And there's also a source finder planner to help them write an annotated bibliography. The Part B rubric, this is new as of this morning, and it's linked in the work streams tracker for CELA by Literacy Coordinator. Sorry, my camera's up here, but my screen's up here. The student-facing Capstone by Literacy project document has the rubrics as checklists for students, right? So the students can check boxes. It's like a check brick, so they can make sure they're doing everything that's required. So for the annotated bibliography, they're finding and including diverse target language resources, at least paragraph length, and they're able to make an assertion that, yes, this is a reliable source. Then they are summarizing, and we're focusing on that column for level 3, right? That meets expectations. That shows actual intermediate high, which is required for category 1 and 2 languages. If they do research at a level 4, that exceeds expectations. And I've grayed out the rubric descriptors in columns 1 and 2 because that does not meet passing expectations. So
sorry, there's a question.
yeah, I see it, but I want to go through this. Yep. So research can, a number of sources, right? A description of the community that you're studying. It doesn't need to be a different country, but it needs to be a different community where that target language is spoken. More as in the student-facing document. The geography, demographics, any data related to the sub-theme. You'll see some examples at the end of projects students did around immigration and different rates in Argentina or Dominican Republic. So they're really doing some research. I think to your question, magazine articles. Magazine articles could be opinion articles, right? We're looking for informational text. So I think magazine articles could be something that they find as a source, and then they will have to determine if that is a credible source and if they trust the information in that. So that's something, and Part B might take more teaching than some of the other parts, right? They're already maybe annotated bibliographies and summarizing and checking credibility of sources is a new skill for them. Explanation of the community's practices, thinking about perspectives, right? This is standard number 4, where we're getting to think about product, practices, and then the underlying perspectives for certain communities and cultures. And then how the sub-theme is being addressed. So this all considers if students are doing the topic of immigration or sustainability or health, right? These are global challenges, so those don't come in until Unit 6, but those are some of them where students can take a viewpoint, right? And they can create research, show an understanding of the message, and then take a viewpoint, make comparison to Part A and to their own experience. That is Part B, and that is the Part B rubric. That's a checklist for students. Let me just look at the chat. Community data research be a different time period as well. I guess so. Teresa, are you thinking that they'd be doing then and now in the same community, or they're changing the community and the time period?
It could be either. I was thinking, I know last year when some of them were asking me when they were doing technology, they were interested in they were asking me questions if they can do a country, but can they pick a time period? Does it have to be now in 2023, or could it be like 10 years ago? So they were just trying to narrow the research. So I just wanted to ask that question now. If it has to be a different community, and or if you do the same community, can you pick a different time period of that community?
I would leave it open. I think that's fine. You want to be able to get to comparisons, and then also the rubric requires that they can write across time period. So they'll be able to kind of describe how it was in the past and then what it is now. And then in their presentation, they might be talking about what they'd like to see. So the future tense might come in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Victoria Part 1 is now called Part A, and it's essentially the same as last year. So part of Part B, and we won't go too much into this, but your information needs to come from dependable sources. And that's where your collaboration interdisciplinary does come in. Scholarly peer-reviewed articles and books, professional articles, magazine articles, government websites. I'm doing a lot of work with language teachers around the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. You'll see some examples throughout. Those are credited websites like Credible and Credited and government websites with the .gov. Great. So again, websites, magazines, blog posts, you would want to have a critical lens on. And Marisol, ready? I can put this in the chat. Thank you. So take a few minutes, look at this resource folder. I will say, except for a few pictures that we're going to see towards the end, we do not have Part C examples, right? And so this is where I ask you, I implore you as coordinators at the school, think about Part C presentations when you're scheduling them. If they're on Zoom, you could record them, but you're probably doing them in person. Get some pictures, invite some students to share their presentations, maybe ask if you can record their presentations. We'd get media release forms, or we can take their name off the presentation if they don't want it on the presentation. You ask for examples, and unless I get them from you, or Marisol gets them from her New Vision schools, we don't have a bank of the Part C presentations yet.
Jill, I think they need access because before I was able to have access, now I wasn't. I don't know why.
So basically, this is the folder. And now I'm getting 8 million
Yes, sorry.
access. Is there anyone in the waiting room? I don't think anyone's in the waiting room, but
Now is somebody that I just got her in.
So essentially, this is a new folder that I put in the chat. This is, let's see how many people popped up requesting access. No. I'll put this in here. So basically, if you're a coordinator, and I keep getting emails, but essentially, I'm just going to quickly show you very quickly. If you're not sure where any of these documents are, right, there are two places to go. One is New York City CELA by Literacy, not the New York State one. If you go to this public schools page, this is basic information on the CELA by Literacy that's available in any language, right? This is for parents. And then it tells them to go to their school. And here is it links to the Info Hub page. I'll put it back in English. This links to the Info Hub page. You can also search for the CELA by Literacy on Info Hub. This CELA by Literacy page has resources, and the toolkit links to the work streams tracker, and here's the guidance document. But if you are a CELA by Literacy coordinator, click on that link I just put in the chat, and a shared drive will pop up for you. I have more shared drives than you probably do. Shared drive kind of goes right to the left, so it immediately shows up for you. There's a subfolder NYCPS NYSSB resources. These are all the documents that are not directly linked on the Info Hub. So this includes, and I'll share it right now, the assessment information. So I'm going to, sorry, I'll make it so anyone with the link can view.
Yeah.
But I'm just showing you how, and there's different score sheets, things like that. All of these were Part 1 and 2, and I changed it to, okay, there it is, sorry. I thought I made it anyone with the link can view. Oh my gosh, stop requesting access, please. Okay, refresh. You should all be able to access it now.
also that link is in the, for meanwhile Jill is finishing that,
Mm.
that also in the tracker that many of you have, in the tracker where it says letter F, implementing the culminating project, you have like different bullet points, and the one before the last one says sample as CBPS. So you also have it in the tracker, okay?
Okay, so anyone with the link should be able to view. Please refresh, check. And here are some examples. So part A was part 1, so I can revise that, but I see people on it, right? So I think part B is where students might need support, right? There's a few examples. And this person was looking at Ecuador and technology and science and everything. So here it is. These are some examples for you.
Jill, that only shared the part A and B samples, not the resource folder.
Yeah, so the resource folder, I can't add you all. Okay, I've added 117 different Ceola biliteracy coordinators. I will have to, everyone who registered for this, like, it'll take me too long to add them all now, for example. And I'm not seeing requests for access to this.
So we only are able to request access to the first folder that you sent, not to the entire shared drive.
So I need to manually add all of you to the shared drive, right?
Or you
Okay.
could change it to viewable by team members of the DOE when you hit share there,
But-
shared drive settings. Oh,
Are you
maybe
seeing
not.
that? Shared drive members, allow people who aren't shared drive members to access file. I'm trying to make it so you guys can access this. There's no secrets here. I don't know why it's not working exactly.
So maybe take all the
Well, maybe I'll stop
clicks.
sharing my screen and you keep presenting and I'll try to deal with this. How's that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, cool. As much as you all want to see my email and my shared drive, I'll try to give access.
Yeah, give me 1 second. But
Okay,
every
thank you.
question, meanwhile, Jill does that. Everybody has now everybody, when if I can see the folder, everybody has access. Can you show me with your hand? Yes. Okay, I will put it again because now it shouldn't be a problem. Let us see. I think that it should be yes. If not, refresh it because there shouldn't be any of. Can you let me know? I just put it in the chat again. Part A, can you show me with your hands if you can see? Yes. If somebody cannot, it's strange. We need to do something. So
we need to, you know what we need to do? I'm going to put the work stream tracker in the chat, and that links to a lot of the other documents. And do you want to go there? Because
I think that Jill, I suggest the following. I think that as we are doing this, anybody has problem with the last link that I put? Can you raise your hand? No, right? So maybe we give a little time for people to take a look at the examples, Jill? Like 5 minutes, so you can just look some of the examples, okay?
Sorry, quick question. Are you still going to talk about part C?
Yes, we will, but let us finish part A and B doing the examples. Look, let us take 5 minutes to check that, okay? 3 more minutes to take a look at the samples.
I'm sorry, Marisol. I just put we have to do a evacuation drill right now. We're asking us everybody to. I'm gonna leave it on, okay?
One more minute, and then Jill will resume with the part C presentation, okay? Okay, so you have there some samples. Jill will follow up with an email with this again and the PowerPoint and everything, the recording. So you can have an idea of some of the examples. Some of them exceed the rubric expectations, right? Because they are like above, but at least we have some of the examples, okay? Jill, you want to continue with part C or?
Yeah. Somehow I can't copy and paste all of you. There's 55 of you from ProLearner, and I need to figure that out. We're all learning ProLearner. It's great. You'll get CTLE automatically, but it is a little cumbersome, and so I can't easily add you all to the drive. Okay, so part C, right? Because part A is very similar to part 1 last year. Part B is very similar to part 2. We do not have a part 3 essay. And then we immediately, after parts A and B, students go to part C. Now, part C is what was part 4 last year, and it does have 2 parts. It always has. It's an oral presentation, presentational speaking, and then question and answer, because we need to make sure that students understand. They can engage in interpersonal speaking. They understand questions. I want to go through part C before I answer your question. So similar to last year, again, it has 2 parts, the presentation and the oral defense. The presentation is allowing students to showcase their viewpoints, right? What do they think about something? What did they talk about in part A? What did their research? What did they learn in their research? And as a school team, you can decide if you specify a time length or a number of slides for the presentation. Slides are great because it gives students an anchor. They can put visuals, right? But just like I'm not reading directly from the slide, it should just be a few bullet points. And Candace at the state was very, when she does these presentations to visit schools, she wants to make sure, and I can share that rubric with you, what they're looking for, but students aren't reading from slides, right? It's maybe just a few bullet points, a meaningful visual, just like presentations they do for other classes, right? The oral defense of the overall project needs to be to an assessment panel. So as you're planning for presentations, and I think it makes sense to plan for Part C presentations in April, maybe March, but certainly if you teach an AP class, students are preparing and you're preparing them for the AP exam in early to mid-May. So doing the Part C presentations are great in April. That's for graduating seniors. If students in your class are working towards the seal of biliteracy and they are 11th graders, they can have until the end of June to do their Part C presentations. They're not on the end of your data form. So those 11th graders can complete their Part C presentations after the exams if you'd like them to. There's not the urgency that there is with the 12th graders. 2 adults proficient in the language, that they do not need to be pedagogues. They can be community members, but it needs to be 2 adults proficient in the language that are going to assess your students. So again, as you're planning for, are you doing the presentations in April, make sure you have 2 adults proficient in the language to be part of this. Go over the rubrics with those folks and involve colleagues in the process. It's a real celebration of what students are doing at their school. So I want to share just a few, hold on. I just want to share a few pictures. These are from, I don't know if Ariana's here, but just how it's a real celebration of students learning, right? So even if not all your colleagues are proficient in the languages, please invite them to be part of it. Really celebrate the students. These are some examples of global challenge topics that were of interest to them. And then there was a celebration afterwards. So it's a real celebratory day for students. So yeah, so back to what it is, right? So it's those 2 parts, suggested in April of 2025 and involving colleagues. So again, those 2 parts in the presentation, they're taking ideas from their personal essay and their research. Again, they're not reading from slides, just a few bullet points, maybe a picture, and then they can include information or be ready to speak to their process. There are always questions, the secure panel questions. That's the Part C2, where they'll be asked at least 4 questions, and then the assessors have a rubric and they're copying down the questions and the responses. Guidance and to students as well as to you is that if a student is asking, they don't understand, or moichido kudasai, like please, or can you say that a different way? Ii kata wa chigaimasu. Like, can you say it in a different way, please? You're allowed to do that for the student or to repeat your question. Okay, I see a few things in the chat. Yes, Victoria. Yeah, so hopefully all of you have already seen the capstone document. It's been on the info hub since August, right? This shouldn't be new. Every part has a rubric, just as in previous years. And what we just added into the work streams tracker today is these Part A, B, C rubrics now as student-facing checklists. I wanted to change it. Okay, it's not meant to cross out. I will change these. Yes, so now students can check off, right? And again, these are grayed out because that's not meeting expectations.
This is amazing, Jill. This
Yeah.
checklist for students, like, wow.
Yeah, but I need to fix these. You know how it is, right? If you've used Google Docs, you don't want it to cross up. Oh, I'll fix it later. I don't know why that's happening. Anyway, okay, yeah, they're checklists for students. That's the only change. So Victoria, the rubrics have been there for each part. What else did I miss? Okay, cool. Yeah.
You missed one question, Jill, before you move at the beginning that somebody was raising, Dina was raising the hand.
Oh yeah.
I have a question. I just wanted some clarity because I was a little confused. So for Part B, students are no longer required to write a research paper, because I know that in the past, or the information that at least was passed on to me from the previous coordinator, is that for Part B, a 3 to 5 page research paper was required based on the research that students conducted.
There was never a research paper.
Never a research paper.
So Part B is an annotated bibliography, and then Part C, I guess someone last year was called part 3 and it was a synthesizing essay. So I guess
Yes.
I would have said that was kind of a research paper. It was putting their research together.
Yes.
Part B was never a research paper, annotated bibliography, and there is not that second essay. There's
Okay. Okay, so just to clarify, this year that synthesis essay is no longer required.
correct.
Okay, thank you. That's where I needed some clarity because I'm just receiving this information that's being passed down to me, and I'm so happy that I'm like attending this session so I can have some good information. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. So part C, again, that presentation is where they're bringing in their research, right? What they learned is part of their presentation. So panel questions, these are what might be asked of the student. I will say, and everything needs to be in the target language. So if you're doing, if the student's doing the presentation, and these panel questions, we can translate into Spanish, French, Chinese, the most common languages. Obviously, we can't translate them into all 30 some languages in which students pursue, but these should be definitely asked in the target language. So we can offer translations of Spanish, French, Mandarin, the most common one.
I have a question.
Yep.
How many people should be on the panel?
So at least 2 adults proficient in the language, but if you have more, and especially if they're doing it on the English side, invite like multiple teachers and even the assistant principal, the principal. It's a real celebration. So, I mean, and tell the students, right, like, obviously they would get a little more nervous with the more grown-ups, but it's really to celebrate them, and everyone's so proud of them being biliterate. But the minimum is 2.
Thank you.
Yep. And we really do want to hear from students, like what was interesting about this, what was most challenging, what are they going to do with this information? This is where really like digging into topics they're very interested in is meaningful. And then the rubrics, right? So the rubrics, again, you all probably know with the implementation of the revised standards, there are 2 categories. Category 1, 2 languages have a proficiency target of actful, intermediate, high for each of those parts. And then that includes the languages that are written with the Roman alphabet. And then categories 3 and 4 are actful, intermediate, mid. So the rubrics are different, and that's why you have 2 sets of rubrics in all these documents. That includes Japanese and Chinese and those logographic languages. Yep. And so zooming in on these rubrics, right? So part A, again, it is as a checklist, and levels 1 and 2 are grayed out because students shouldn't be focusing on those, they're not passing. Part B also has checklists for students, showing that Part B is a range of diverse target language sources. They have to be at least paragraph length, and they're mostly relevant and reliable. And the summary is in their own words. They're showing understanding, and they're looking at credibility of the source. And then Part B, we already talked about this. Did we skip the slide? Marisol, do you want to speak about this, or did we try to skip the show up? Sorry, are you talking? I thought we skipped that slide.
Yes, I think we should just skip it. Maybe we didn't put, I think that let's go to part C.
Yeah. So part C rubric has 2 parts. It may look longer because we want to make sure we're clear that they're be really clear that they're including details from their research, right? And so again, giving reasons to support their viewpoint, and they're using connective devices. So that is their checklist for part C presentation. And then part C interpersonal communication is that they can exchange information, they can answer questions, and maybe even ask some follow-up questions, like, what do you think about this topic? Or have you learned about this topic? Or what do you see in your community around this topic, right? Follow-up questions. So those are the rubrics, and I showed, again, these are some topics that the students chose at their school. And Marisol, do we want to go to this for like 10 minutes?
Sounds great. So now what we're going to do, we are going to, I'm going to stay here with anybody that has an AP class or AP word language class, just to show you how easy is to embed the project, just to show you some, connections and to talk about it if you have any question. And then if you are in a different situation, your school does not have an AP class, you have never heard about an AP class or any other situation, you will go to breakout room with Jill. So you can talk about your specific case. Okay? I think I can share just, yeah. So anybody that that is not in an AP class, you might want to go with Jill to the breakout room and the rest stay with me. And
Yeah, so I just opened the breakout room. It's just one, so it might have popped up on your screen. And if you're going to stay in here with Marisol, she's going to explain some of the explicit connections to an AP course exam and description. But again, if your school doesn't have an AP course or it doesn't have a checkpoint C course, or you're not exactly sure how this project would work, scroll down to the bottom and you'll see a blue join button. Oh, Katie Clark's already in there. Okay, 4 people. I gotta go. Okay.
okay.
Bye.
Yeah, so I'm staying here just to make a connection with the AP, right? So first I want to remind you, like if anybody's in our teaches our language class, right? If you see, this is the structure of the exam, correct? So the part A, the personal essay, can be related to the argumentative essay, right? Can be, even though it's not an argumentative essay, can be like a first project just to work kind of in building up to the argumentative essay. Okay, a personal essay. And then I'm going to skip this, but for any one of you that wasn't there, that does not know, just what is an argumentative essay in the AP, right? So for example, the topic for 2024 was like if college education should be free or not. So it's different, the argumentative essay, obviously, because they have to select 3
I think you're
sources.
sharing the wrong screen. Sorry. I don't know if anybody said that.
You're not seeing my screen?
I'm seeing your calendar, your
Oh,
Outlook calendar.
thank you so much for letting me
Okay?
know. Okay,
No
thank
problem.
you. That was great because I had to thank you. Yeah, it was like, what has to do with the calendar when she's talking? Thank you for, give me just 1 second that I need to move. Like, I hope that now you understand what I'm talking about. I'm so glad you told me now before. Can you see it now?
It says loading. There we go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so again, as I was telling you before, right? This is the structure of the exam, and there's a connection obviously in terms of the argumentative essay, that is presentational writing, right? However, it's not exactly the same because as we know, the argumentative essay has 3 sources and really they need to make a synthesis of the sources. And it's not about themselves, it's what the sources said, right? So in that sense, it's different, but it's still, you can do this as part of like before starting or together with doing the argumentative essay. There can be another presentational writing that you can do. Part B, right, that is a comparison because remember in part B, the students are going to, after they did the research, they're going to talk about the topic in a community, right, in another community. So somehow there's a relationship with the cultural comparison they are doing constantly, right, talking about their community and another community. So if you see, these are the course skills, and part A and part C are present, like the skill present orally, present in writing. And part B, that is the research, is interpretative, interpretative mode. and make meaning, right, of what they read. And then the last part, when they present, they are doing speak to others. So the skills are very similar. It's not something like you start from scratch. Are the same skills you're using, only that you need to write the prompt is not exactly the same. But the skills, as you see, they are the same, okay? There was a longer presentation, but Jessie's already, we know we have like 9 more minutes. So I'm not going to go over all the difference between one or the other, but it's many people just do this totally within their classes, okay? If you have 11th graders, I have heard of schools that they don't do it, and because in 11th graders they don't need it now, so they went and finished the AP, and then they in June at the end of May and June, they just do this project. They do the 3 parts, and because they don't need it, that is if it's 11 grades, because it does not need the credits for because they are not seniors, okay? But again, even though the prompts are a little bit different from the argumentative essay, the skills, as you see, are the same skills and the same level of proficiency. So it really, I will say that it's easier, much easier to do the narrative than to write an argumentative essay, right? Much easier. The argumentative essay that they need to synthesize from different sources. So if whatever you have been doing up to now, your students should be totally prepared to write that essay. That is an easy, it's very easy in regards to the AP. Again, the bibliography, if you go and see, I don't know who has done it, who hasn't, but if you go and see the scaffold that is given, it's not difficult to do. It's less difficult than the level of the AP. And then the oral presentation obviously is much less difficult if they can prepare, right, what they're going to say, than the cultural comparison that they need to speak on the spot. That is so difficult. So really it's not difficult in the AP. Anybody has wants to share like your experience in your school, how you do it? How you embed it in the class? Anybody that has done it for many years? Luisa, yes.
Yeah, last year we have been doing this like already like for the past 5 years. But last year I was asked to embed it in my AP Spanish class. But the problem is that we have 10, 11, and 12 graders. And for me, it was like pushing a lot. The kids, they didn't meet the deadline, like 10th grader, and why do I need to do this now if I don't even know if I qualify for the English part? So it was a lot of pressure from my part, like they didn't take it seriously. Only the seniors got it. So this year I was a little reluctant to do it because in my school, my assistant principal is the one that makes the first meeting to start in January. So I haven't done anything yet with my AP class. We're just, reading in Unit 3. So I'm gonna have a talk to my AP to see if I have to do it in the classroom because it takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time, but also you might not, like, you might do the first part with the seniors. Everyone does their personal essay, and then you leave the other parts with the 10th and the 11th graders. I had the opposite experience than you. I did it when I had in my APs were in 10th grade, and they loved it because they knew that if they got it, then they just need to work hard in the ELA, but they already knew. And I have a box filled like the box, and I put it there. So I even when I have to move to Central, they already have all the data. So I think that depends on how one is, like, it's kind of, you already have the points. And if you get a 4 and a 5 in the AP, you are done with weird language. Just work.
Right.
There are other ways, not only, to get the points in English. So I think it's a good way. We have something short, anybody that has experience, but thank you, because it's real what you say, but maybe, yeah. Yeah, and if they can select the topics, maybe that's, yeah, good luck. Buena suerte, buena suerte.
I'm sorry, I missed that, right? So you said because before we will give them the topic. So this year is I guess when I went to my drill, I was,
Yeah,
my
you,
question drill,
but they have to be for the class, but you can talk and you can select. You don't need to tell them. You
I
need to
can
do.
give them a list of the
The
topics and
lists are
say,
there. We did like this, all the things of the AP with the topics and sub themes. So you just I
oh,
can send it again, send me an email. We have it's just very easy. So you can say, okay, guys, select the class. So
okay.
if you make it something right, if you tell them you need to write about this topic, obviously it's a pain. They will obviously. Which teenager, which person would like you to write about what you want them to write? Like, so, but I'm sure that if it's a different, I'm going to call Jill because I'm going to close the room, sorry. So, but I think that, yeah, close all rooms. We'll see if Jill gets angry with me now. Just close the room. So, but yeah, just ask them if you talk us about a class, which are the topics. If you are cover the first 3 units, that you're perfect with the pacing, that is where people should be at this point. Then you say, guys, you know about that. If you make them realize all what you know, it's like so easy. Give them extra point, whatever. If everybody does the first part, and then you can just follow up with the other 2 parts only with the seniors, and leave like the 9th grade, 10th graders and 11th for June. So, you know, that can be a motivation. Yes, and it was somebody else.
Yeah, I would like to ask something. It's a question, not sharing experiences because I don't have it. Experiences. It's a question about this. I'm trying to make a big general idea of what I learned today. Basically, you start from very personal, a personal essay, which is basically a reflection of your interest put into essay. So no sources, not special references. Your thinking elaborated and explained well. Then
Yes,
you move to a research, which is going to be in the research, what's the name? Oh my God, the research, the
and
description
annotate
of
research.
the
Yes.
annotated research. And eventually this doesn't culminate in a writing piece, but in a spoken piece, in an interview with a panel of a person who ask you question, and we know already that the question go for the why you choose it, what you learn. So they're reviewing what was the lesson through the research. Correct?
Yeah, a great, Annalisa did a great, like what she learned, that is exactly, I will just add that in the 3rd part, yes, they present all like the 2 steps, A and B, but also they're going to be asked some questions. They're both things,
Yeah.
but you make a good summary. And
So it's culminating towards the oral, not
yes,
towards the
exactly.
written. Okay,
No,
thank
they
you.
said no to all the oral. It's super fun. So Luisa, you can totally convince your students that they are going to be crazy to do all of them the project. So
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm gonna share quick, I promise 20 seconds. Last year, one of my students did about music, about corrido, and actually he's a musician, and he played for us, for the panel, like the music about the corrido,
right.
and yeah, and it was
If
very
we
nice.
and also you can, the last thing, because we are already, and I will give the word to but if you're thinking that you have June in which they can present to themselves also, not only to the panel, so you're you know, that's like you're killing 2 birds of a shot. So, but thank you very much. And Jill, I give you the word like to end.
Yeah, thanks. So we just want to end. I mean, I can stay for an extra few minutes, but I know it's 4 o'clock on a gorgeous Tuesday. Hold on one sec.
And Jill, something very short because I need to leave sharp. If anybody needs help how to embed in your class, like we talk about Luisa, just text me and we have a chat by phone in a minute, and I might bring some ideas. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm going to I'll send you a follow-up email. I will try to do that right now before I log off. And there is a feedback survey. I don't know if you'd say we had sufficient time to go through all the big ideas, but the assumption was, you know, about the seal of biliteracy. You knew there were 3 parts, and we were just really the only thing that was new today was the checklist rubrics. And making sure you can access the work streams tracker, which links to all the other documents. The work streams tracker is available linked into the toolkit that's on the Info Hub now. So I can stay for a few more minutes and I'll just share my screen. I'm hoping that you are able to, Marisol went through a lot of additional resources. Hopefully you're leaving here able to articulate what are the parts of the 1E and 2E project, right? Parts A, B, and C. And hopefully you can make connections to the existing work you do. Or if you don't teach a Checkpoint C or home language arts course, think about ways that you can implement the project in your own school setting. So I'll stay on for questions. I'll stop the recording and thank you very much. So have a great day.
Hi, Jill. It's Teresa. I just
Yeah.
have a few questions. I know we spoke recently, but I know, so let me just ask my questions and then you can see what you can answer. One was, I know some of our kids just took the stamp and I just want to reiterate, it was that stamp 4S and if that counts for 2A.
Stamp 4S, that's a great point, actually. Stamp 4S counts, if I go back to, and I'm kind of modeling, I'm leaving the recording on so that you can kind of see where to find things. So the Streams Tracker document that I put in the chat earlier, this like has everything you need, right? And so the first thing is the one-page criteria chart, right? And so thinking about Monica's students, right, at your school who just took the stamp exam. So hopefully Monica is able to embed the 2E project into her course and getting the students an essay, doing some research. They were just doing research the other day when I was in the classroom, actually, and then do the presentation. And then the stamp assessment counts as the 2D assessment. So we need to look back, and I don't think you were on the email. I had sent it to Principal Armano and Ms. Morones. I saw Janina here, actually. We need to look at which students got a score of 6 on each of the subtests for the stamp. If you have a 6 on each of the 4 subtests, that satisfies 2D. So there might be a group of students in Monica's class that already have the 2D point. And if they do the project with her, then they'll have what they need on the world language, on the Spanish.
Because
under,
on the, what is this one I'm looking at? The initial outreach form, the stamp 4S is under 2A as a Checkpoint C world language, right?
2D.
On the initial outreach, they have it listed under 2A.
I need you to show that to me. That's
wait, let me look at what it says for wait, let me.
2A is a Checkpoint C course. And 2A, that column has an X in it if students passed with an 85 a Checkpoint C course last year.
Okay, because there's like a drop down menu next to it. And it has like AP Lang, AP Lit, IB, and one of them is Stamp World Speak or Stamp 4S/3S.
Yeah, but that's 2D. Are you telling me it says 2A?
It's at least on mine, at least right next to it. I don't know if you want me to share my screen.
Go ahead, I just made you co-host.
Okay. Let me open
All
this.
those assessments in the dropdown are 2D options. Sorry, 2D. 2A is only for Checkpoint C courses, and 2C is HLA, home language arts courses.
Because I played with it a little bit to wait. Where do you go to share screen? I haven't. It's been a while.
It's at the bottom. It's like a green up.
Oh, I see it. See it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, Jill.
Hi, Inesis.
No, it's fast. I have a student that she's 12th grade, but she wants to know if she can do the Korean languages also at the same time with Spanish.
Yes.
She can do it?
Yes.
Yeah, all the information is the same like in Spanish, but she needs to do in the target language.
She has to go through so obviously she's doing the English side once, right?
Yeah, she have everything. She only wants to know if she can do Korean also.
She can, but then she needs to get 3 points in Korean, right? So is she going to take an assessment and do the project in Korean? It cannot be a translation of the Spanish, right? It needs to be a completely different topic. And she's doing the research in Korean.
And then she needs to do an assessment first.
Well, you can decide, but through the assessments cost money, right? We have a negotiated rate of $19.90 per student, but maybe you can have them. Do you have a Korean advisor who can help them, or do you need me to?
No, she's doing out of the school.
So do you need me to find an advisor for her, or she has an advisor?
No, she doesn't have. It will be good if you help me with that.
Okay, we can talk more, but see if she wants to do 2 projects. She'd then have to do research in Korean as well, and then you would have to pay for an assessment as a school for her $19.90 to take
It's
one. 19, less than $20.
Yeah, I got it. No, maybe she's interested.
Yeah. Yep, it's all in the work streams tracker.
Okay. And nothing else with the school that we don't have the committee for the student that he speaks very fluent Spanish and he can do the biliteracy. So remember the student that I have, but he doesn't have the credit for ELA.
Okay, yeah. We can talk more, yeah, about individual students. We can set up a separate time.
Okay, thank you so much.
You have one student who needs a Korean advisor, right? I can add them to the list.
No, I say I have the student that it needs to like how do you say, like a team, in ELA. Remember the group that we don't have here at the school. He's missing that for the project.
Okay, we'll have to talk separately. I'm not sure I understand right now. Sorry. Email me and then I'll follow up. Okay.
Hello.
Hold on. Sorry. I want to.
Yeah. Jill, I just realized I think I'm reading it wrong because it's next to 2A, but it's 2D.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just realized that. So
yeah. Okay.
I just realized that as I was like staring and staring and staring. So it counts for 2D, and then but it would be the one they took was stamp 4S.
So let's look. I pulled the extract from Monica's class. I'll include you on the email. I'll add you and put the names of the students that may have satisfied that 2D based on the stamp. It might be a group, and then we need to look at those. I don't know how their English is. I don't know if they're going to be able to get the 3 English points, but let's.
Yeah. Well, some of them are freshmen, so I think we could definitely, we'll definitely work on that by the time they graduate. But my last question is, does the 2E project have to be done in a Checkpoint C class? Because it says Checkpoint C standards.
It doesn't necessarily need to be done in a Checkpoint C class, but we were thinking that if they're already in the Checkpoint C class, that the rubrics are aligned to Checkpoint C, actual, intermediate, high.
Okay, but they could do it in a regular, like Spanish Regents class if we wanted to do that?
Yes, what I'm going to say about that is, and that's what some schools do when they have motivated students, but they don't offer a Checkpoint C course. Technically, a Checkpoint B Regents level course should be Checkpoint B standards, and this is a Checkpoint C. So this is like an extra, like this is an enrichment, or like this is a level above the proficiency targets of the course. Yeah.
Okay. And one last question. My initial Outlook thing, the thing I was just looking at, is not fully correct. Like the kids who got the seal last year, it doesn't show that they received the seal.